Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so happy to have some time with you today on this Wednesday. I have to think sometimes. It is Wednesday, and so grateful that we could be together. As you all know from spending time with us over these last few years, YWTV is all about sharing great stories that are links to our mission in the community. And today we have another wonderful conversation for you. And so excited to hopefully many of you, I'm sure, know about this organization. And for those of you that don't, it's important for you to know about it. So let's jump right in and talk about the Fund for New Jersey. And we're going to talk a little bit today about their work to create awareness and propose reparative solutions to resolving racial disparities facing New Jersey's diverse communities. They are working with a whole group of partners on this project, and obviously with our mission being focused, partially on eliminating racism and also obviously empowering women, which has a tremendous intersection there for sure. This is clearly an area of extreme interest for us at the YW. And so with that, let me welcome today's guest. Today we have Kiki Jamieson, who is president of the Fund for New Jersey with us. Welcome, Kiki.
Thank you, Helen. I'm really happy to be here with you.
I am so glad that you could make the time. Let me tell our viewers a little bit about you and the fund. The fund is a private foundation that supports progressive public policy. At the fund, Kiki has led efforts to advance reparations and racial justice, to count all New Jersey residents in Census 2020, and to promote fair redistricting. Previously, she directed the PACE Center for Civic Engagement and taught in the politics department at Princeton University. And before that, she was at the University of Pennsylvania, at Haverford College, and at Rutgers University. She was also a visiting scholar at the Institute for Advanced Study. Her scholarship focused on the intersection of political theory, law, and public policy, including attention to conflicts between state power and gender identity and expression. She is the author of Real Choices, Feminism, Freedom, and Limits of the Law. We have to have you come back and talk about that too, Kiki. I love that. She herself is also a trustee of Bryn Mawr College and chair of its Committee of Investment Responsibility. And she is the past chair of the New Jersey Council for Humanities and for the Princeton Public Library, and a past trustee of the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers. She's also a graduate of Bryn Mawr College and Rutgers University. So you obviously bring a big background to this work. So we're so excited to hear about it. So for those who are not familiar with the Fund for New Jersey, I mean, for those of us in the nonprofit world, obviously we know who you are and your work, but I know for some folks, that's the whole point of YWTV, is we get to expose them to new and interesting information. So let's share with our viewers a little bit about the fund, what you do, and what a foundation is in general.
Sure. So the Fund for New Jersey is a private foundation that's been around for 50 years. It was, so foundations are organizations, they're nonprofit organizations. It's a special tax status that allows people to make charitable contributions to this organization. They get a tax break, and then the money is used for the public interest. And often it's used for the public interest going forward. The money is put usually into an endowment that spins off funds that are used for grants for nonprofit organizations. That is our purpose. And for 50 years, the resources of the Fund for New Jersey have been dedicated to advancing good public policy decision making. The money for the fund was made a century ago by a scientist who created, with a partner at a company called Wallace and Tierney, Northern New Jersey, a system to chlorinate municipal water. And he patented that, and they sold that system around the world. I love to tell the story because it was a product that saved hundreds of thousands of lives, bringing clean water to cities. And they made a little bit of money. along the way. The family was a modest family with Quaker roots that for decades directed their philanthropy to the Westfield area. But in about 1970, their son-in-law realized that if the resources of the fund were devoted to systems and institutions and making policy change, they could have a much, much bigger impact and help children and families throughout the state. And that's exactly what happened. It moved from being a private foundation named the El Jabbar Fund for Elizabeth, Jane, and Barbara, the three daughters of the family, to becoming known as the Fund for New Jersey. And for the past 50 years, the fund has supported nonprofit organizations working on a variety of issues from economic justice and racial justice to education, housing, and environment. Some of the things, Helen, that the fund has been able to help support to achieve are things like paid family leave, right? Paid sick leave, increasing the minimum wage, expanding preschool, focusing on educational equity, the kinds of things that make life better for all
Yeah,
families in New Jersey.
absolutely. I know we over this last I want to say year. I know you lose track of time doing it. I know that we have a 2-year marker. That's always a good, but somewhere within that, it becomes a little sketchy sometimes. But I know that we worked with ACNJ and, with all of you. I know you were working on another really important joint initiative around the state that was really focused on our childcare needs and, supporting that effort statewide. So you obviously are, and obviously there's also an intersection there, from a racial justice perspective as well. So it's wonderful to see all the really important core work, public policy work you're doing. And, again, it's so linked to our work at the YW. So we are always eagerly watching and happy to jump in. I know we had done a great conversation with some of our sister YWs in New Jersey together statewide about the effort and helping push that out. So now you're very focused on the Imagine More Racial Justice Begins With Us series. I know that that's kind of a new area of focus for all of you, a new initiative. So could you tell us a little bit about that and how it came to be? I loved hearing about the evolution of the fund. It's always so interesting to me to see the origins of where something starts and where it goes. And you can see, obviously, the link. I mean, clean water. Here we're still talking about that all these years later, in terms of equity, connected as well. But here you are still in it.
Yes, so I'm so excited to tell you about Imagine More. This is really a first of its kind 6-part series of conversations that are designed to advance conversations and interest in reparations in New Jersey. For a long time, the fund has been supporting nonprofit organizations that are doing this work, and we're so proud to support them. These include organizations like the Institute for Social Justice, right, and the ACLU, Wind of the Spirit, Faith in New Jersey, Latino Action Network Foundation, Salvation and Social Justice, and the like. They've been doing this work and have been working with communities to raise up the issues that matter, in particular to communities of color, which are nearly a majority of us here in New Jersey. But what we wanted to do with the fund was to use our resources and work with 25 partner organizations, including the YW, which we're so happy to be in partnership with you, and other organizations from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to Rutgers Newark and NJPAC and the Princeton Department of African American Studies, a whole range of groups, the Center for Nonprofits and the Council of New Jersey Grantmakers, to help focus attention of New Jerseyans on these issues, to recognize that it's not just about what's wrong, but what we need to do to make it right. And our belief is that racial justice shouldn't be controversial, right? We recognize that there are disparities in New Jersey and elsewhere, and disparities that were created by choices people made at a different point in our past. And it's now our responsibility and opportunity to make different choices and to repair that harm, to rebuild the system so that they can promote justice rather than injustice, so that they can advance equity and opportunity for everyone here in the state. We have had a series of 4 events so far, and the 5th one coming up next week, I'm really excited about, is focused on health equity. And we have a terrific lineup of panelists who will be there on Tuesday, June 21st at 6 o'clock. And I'm happy to give information about how people sign up.
Well, we definitely want to hear that. And for our viewers, just know that in the comments today, you will have the link to the Fund for New Jersey, so you can go to their website and learn about them. We do encourage you to follow them on all of your social media platforms that you're connected to. Whatever you're on, they're on. So you should definitely be following them because it'll give you not only good information about the programs that they're interested in, I can say this as someone who follows them, but they are elevating conversations around all of these issues on their social media platforms and using it as an opportunity to, to raise awareness. So you will just be a more informed citizen of New Jersey if you're following them and connected. So I do encourage you to do that. So the event itself, we definitely want people to be registering. And it's so important that you're, broadening this out into a series and not a one and done, conversation, because we do know that, these are, this is a complex, there's so many layers to this. There's so many complexities. So it's important to be able to kind of spotlight each of them and give them the time and the conversation necessary. And I also just want to kind of, support something you said about, obviously these are things that have happened in the past, but I would say to all of us watching, if you're not taking action today, then you're supporting it continuing. And so, as individuals, and no matter how you identify, obviously I identify as a white person, it's just as important that, those folks that identify like I do and look like me are part of this conversation and actively, engaging in places where you can learn and then understand how you can get involved and make a difference, because otherwise you're supporting what is happening staying in place. And we know that this is not, what we have, the systemic racism that we have in this country and, fraught in our systems can be changed, but it really will take all of us to, get involved and actively understand how to do that.
Absolutely. And it can be changed. I think that's one of the really important messages of this series and the work that our partners do, is that it doesn't have to be the way it is. It is the way it is because people made choices, and we can make better choices and work together. So one thing that's exciting to me about this series is that it's smart people talking about important issues, and they all have really practical suggestions for what any of us can do. We don't have to be full-time workers in this area. We don't have to be elected officials. All of us can raise our voices to sign on in support of things like a reparations commission in New Jersey, right? Or legislation that can help to make housing access more fair. And those things don't take a lot of time, but they do have a big impact.
Yes, and I always say this, and our viewers have heard me say it before. Everyone maybe doesn't see themselves as being someone who would go to rallies and march. Everyone doesn't see themselves as someone to show up and testify at commissions, but everyone has the ability to do something. You just have to find what fits into your skill set and into your comfort zone. And I'd even encourage you to push yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone and grow, some skills here. And Kiki, you may know the YWCA, we have at this point over the last, since George Floyd was murdered, we've had thousands of people take our 21-day challenge for racial equity and social justice, where we encourage individuals to learn about race, power, and privilege. And that's a journey individually that you should go on, and then figure out from there where you fit in making, being actively part of this change. And we have entire companies like BD, UMD&J right now is doing the 21-day challenge. We have smaller nonprofit organizations that have done it. We have community groups that have done it, and we have individuals who do it. So, this is a great place for those of you who have done our 21-day challenge. This is a great opportunity for you to get engaged. And that's why we wanted to bring this conversation to you so that you can do that. So I know a lot of people don't realize that this is an issue in New Jersey, right? I mean, sometimes people think that these are issues that are elsewhere. They think about New Jersey as being liberal, and New Jersey is um, being diverse. So we don't have these issues here. Can you talk a little bit about why this is important here in New Jersey, and why, obviously, it's so rooted in the history of your fund, why you've taken this on, which clearly makes sense from how, we started this conversation, but, why you've spearheaded it and why here in New Jersey, everyone should really get involved and take action.
So, Helen, you pointed out some of the characteristics of New Jersey. We are a progressive state. We have a lot more legal protections for civil rights than many other places. We are a very diverse state, nearly 50% communities of color. We're a wealthy state compared to almost everybody else. Connecticut sometimes comes out ahead of us. We have so many advantages here, but we also have some of the worst racial disparities in the country. The public schools of New Jersey are more segregated than any state in the South. The racial disparities of people who are incarcerated in our state prisons and jails are the worst in the nation. And that's true also of the juvenile justice system. So on one hand, we're really doing very well, but we cannot ignore the many, many ways in which New Jersey, the racial disparities and the racial injustice in New Jersey is even more heightened here than other places. And that means we have the opportunity to change it. Whether it is looking at the criminal legal system and taking a really close look at policing, who's the subject of policing, who gets arrested, who gets convicted and incarcerated, and why that matters, right? It's not because communities of color commit crimes at higher rates than white communities. It's because they're targeted by policing practices that can change, right? It's not a case that schools in New Jersey are segregated simply because that's the way it is. They're segregated because we have rules that limit where kids can go to school based on the zip codes and the towns they live in. And the towns of New Jersey, the 565 municipalities, many of them were formed exactly because they wanted to be racially exclusive. So there are so many opportunities here, I think, to make things right and to take a new look at how we organize ourselves and how we distribute opportunities, and do that in a way that is much more racially just.
So I know, you shared this as part of a series, and so next week we have the opportunity to learn about the specific focus on health disparities. Tell us about what we missed so far, and is there still a way to access that information? Even though it's past.
Yes, there have been four events so far, each focused on a particular issue topic, but of course they're all connected. The first focused on the racial wealth gap. And we know that in New Jersey, the net worth of white families dwarfs that of Black families and Latinx families. A lot of that is due to the fact that for many families, owning a house is one of the quickest way to build wealth. And we have significant housing disparities in New Jersey. That was the subject of another event in the series, to talk about how a residential segregation, that is the kinds of rules that made it impossible for families of color to get the loans they needed to buy houses in certain neighborhoods, created these systems. That housing segregation is tied into the education segregation I mentioned a moment ago, which is one of the areas of focus, a third event in the series. And all of this is affected by the racial disparities within the criminal legal system, which is the fourth event that happened. I see up on the screen the website for Imagine More New Jersey, www.imaginemorenj.org. And on that website, you can do two things. One, you can sign up, register for free to attend the session next Tuesday, the 21st, on health. But you can also access both the recordings of the previous events and the resources that were shared. And I encourage you to do both. They're fascinating conversations with really brilliant experts talking about what can be done in New Jersey, and also links to things that each of us can do to help advance the issues.
Well, I do encourage our viewers to go to the site, not only register for what's coming, but go back and check, what we've missed. Obviously, again, so linked to our work at the YW. Economic equality is something our programming is very rooted to. Our viewers are very aware. We have our Eureka program, which is focused on helping women of color start small businesses and keep them strong. From an economic equality perspective, right now we're in the midst of our Junior Jumpstart program, which is helping Black and Brown children getting ready to go to, in this stage of considering college, helping them with college essays, helping them, access, supports for applying for college and helping them with applications. These are important opportunities and important programs, and having a place with renowned experts like have been pulled together to be part of the series really helps inform you about why it's important to have programs like the ones that we do, and so many other great programs across the state that are focused on trying to get into systems and create equity across the board for sure. So obviously we've been able to talk about the program. We do encourage everyone to go to sign up for what's coming and see what passed. Can we talk for a moment about what leaked, obviously with the Roe versus Wade decision, that any day now, I know we're waiting to hear the outcome of what we believe is to be coming. How will that impact maternal health disparities in New Jersey, which I know is linked to some of the conversations coming. I sometimes think that people when they hear about this issue don't think about it within that context. They think about it in a very specific, focused way, as opposed to kind of the big picture impact of a decision like this and how it really, really, impacts women's health.
So already, Helen, Black women are 7 times more likely than white women in New Jersey to die of a maternity-related complication. Right? That is shameful. And it will, I think, only get worse if Roe is pulled back. Now, on one hand, we are more fortunate in New Jersey than in other places in that our legislature and governor have worked to put into law some protections. And so a woman's right to choose is protected in New Jersey. That's terrific. There is still more work to do here. There still are financial barriers to accessing that right. And as we all know, if a right exists in theory, but people don't have the means to actually take advantage of it, it doesn't have as much meaning. So we need to make sure that funding is available to cover the expenses that people have, and to make sure that medical providers get the cultural competency training they need in order to serve our diverse communities well. That said, New Jersey is just one of 50 states, and if Roe is overturned, when Roe is overturned, there will be many other states that immediately move to criminalize abortion. There has been talk about criminalizing the use of contraception, and some states are throwing up trial balloons of limiting access to any kind of reproductive health care. So it's something that's very, very concerning, I think, for anybody who cares not only about women's health and gender justice, but also racial justice, because our systems, sadly, the systems of segregation and exclusion that we live under will really magnify the effects for communities of color. I'm worried that even in New Jersey, where these rights persist, that people will hear about rights being limited elsewhere and will think that they're limited here, and won't have the access and information they need to make the choices that are right for them.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And we've been having these conversations in New Jersey. I mean, obviously, our first lady has taken on maternal health as and the disparities connected there as one of her areas of focus over the last few years. We did a tremendous conversation with melanated moms and Englewood Health a few years back to bring attention locally to this conversation as well. And we really need everyone in our state to be thinking about the repercussions of where this is going, and this is also why elections are so important. We need to be thinking about who we're putting in office and that their values reflect the values that you have as a citizen, and also not just stopping on election day, but throughout the year, getting engaged in processes and keeping yourself educated through forums like what the Fund for New Jersey is doing. And then, making sure that those people that are in office now who work for you, whether or not you voted for them, are understanding, what you want to see happen on these issues, and that you're keeping them informed on that. And you can get more informed again by attending forums like the series that the Fund for New Jersey is hosting right now.
I'm glad you mentioned Melanated Moms, because Jane Wilson from Melanated Moms, one of the speakers on June 21st. She's terrific.
Yes.
And she's going to talk not only about what the issues are now, but what we can do to make it better. Other speakers include Maria Lopez Nunez from Ironbound Community Corporation here in Newark. And Maria she's a national expert on environmental justice and environmental health, and she'll talk about the ways in which pollutants and toxins affect all of us. We also know that there are connections between environmental health and maternal health, and the ability to thrive in pregnancy is affected by the air we breathe and the toxins we're exposed to. Another speaker who's absolutely wonderful, Dr. Jessica Dela Cruz of Listen to Action Network Foundation, an expert on mental health in Black and Latinx communities.
She's also our clinical director at Healing Space, our sexual violence program at the YWCA. So she is part of our team as well at the YW. So we agree that she is a tremendous expert, as well as obviously Jay's a longtime friend of the YW as well. And you've got a great lineup next week. There's every reason to participate because you will learn so much from the group that has been pulled together.
I want to just mention two other people who are part of this, who are superstars. Dr. Denise Rogers, now at Rutgers, is amazing. She's going to talk about where we are and about the disparities, some of the structural issues. And she has really keen insight and clear analysis. And the whole conversation, which I'm sure will be lively, will be moderated by Micheline Davis, who is both a trustee of the fund and a leader of a national nonprofit dedicated to expanding the number of people of color in the medical profession. So it's a lineup of 5 amazing women who will be having, I think, a really challenging and interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I am as well. And I'm so glad that we could have you on today, so we could make sure that we bring attention to the event and the amazing panel that you've pulled together. Again, so many on there, they're all doing important work individually and collectively. There's no doubt that not only will they bring what they've done, but together the synergy of that conversation is going to be incredibly fruitful in terms of giving us some real action items for how to move forward in terms of making change, and also having a better understanding of where we are at here in New Jersey and where we need to go and how to get there.
And Helen, we're so happy that the YW is joining us as a co-sponsor of this. You were early on in that, and we really appreciate it. The partnership with the YW is part of what gives this effort the energy it needs to move forward. So we're grateful for everything you do.
Well, thank you so much. And, we're obviously very committed over a century of commitment to, this work. And, I can only say as a CEO of this organization is, each year we are committed, each day we're committed to going deeper and doing more in this work. It is urgent, as I always say, and there's something for all of us, no matter what we look like or, what our lived experience is. This is a place where we need to link arms and, all move forward together. So the more that we can educate our community, and for those of you watching, the more that you can learn, the more that you can figure out where you fit, where your place is. And hopefully as you start, then you will continue to grow, because I'm sure I can say this for the two of us and so many other folks that I know that are part of doing this work, is that where you started and where you go each day, your calling, the calling pulls you deeper. So it's just a matter of, starting somewhere. I have full faith that once you do, you will understand and figure out your role and your place in helping make change here. Again, this is urgent work, and there's so many amazing experts that have been pulled together as part of this series for you to learn from, because I know very often I hear from people saying, I just don't know what to do, or they feel that putting a Facebook post up every now and then, or changing your profile picture at an appropriate time is being engaged. And that's something. But the reality of it is there's the ability to do so much more. And I want to say it's easy, because it is easy. There's so much to do. And again, it's just a matter of learning. We can make change, as we noted at the beginning, and I want to make sure that we close with that again. We can make change here, but it really is about understanding and figuring out how we can link arms to do it together.
And we can do it together. I'm encouraging people to sign up and attend next Tuesday. But if you can't attend, sign up anyway, and we'll send you the recording when it's available. There's also the opportunity, if you have questions, to submit those questions in advance and have them answered by the panel. So I think we all want to work together to help each other make the change that we need here.
Absolutely. And, I would be remiss if I didn't, note at this time too, that Juneteenth is coming, this week, and it's now a federal holiday in the United States, and it does commemorate the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. YWCA Northern New Jersey is closed on Juneteenth. It is an observed holiday for our organization, although many of us will be out in the community. There's so many events that you can participate in. I encourage you to go to places like New Jersey in Color, and other, check your local towns to find an event and attend and support. And learn. If you don't know about Juneteenth, get connected to your community. It's a wonderful opportunity to celebrate Black culture, Black history, and Black people in our community, and honor everyone who came before us, who fought for the rights and privileges that exist today. And everyone is still fighting. And that's what this is really all about, is that there's still more to do. But we should take the Juneteenth as an opportunity to celebrate and learn and honor, for sure. So we do encourage you to do that. I myself am looking forward to, on Friday, being at UMDNJ and university, being part of their event there. But again, there's so much happening everywhere across the state in New Jersey. I'm sure even within your towns or towns around you. So please do a little bit of research and find some place, and encourage you not only to go, but bring your children, if you do have children, and talk about it to the young people in your life, as I know I do with my kids, and I encourage you to do the same, because we do want to make sure we're raising that next generation to not have to sit in forums and learn. We want them to be learning, right within their schools and, within their community, for sure. So, Kiki, any last comments before we leave each other? I really enjoyed our conversation, and so glad that we could get this information out to the community.
It was great to talk with you, Helen, and I'm leaving with a feeling of optimism and hopefulness, which is what we hope that this Imagine More series inspires in people, right? The sense that this work can be done, and it will be done if we are committed. And so I really appreciate your time and energy that you bring to this work.
Well, thank you again for being with us. It's my great honor to participate and be of service, in our work at the YW and in the community. And for those of you, obviously, join us for our next YWTV. We always are having one great conversation, lots of great conversations. Tomorrow's Thursday, where we share the mic now with Black women in our community. So we do encourage you to, as we do every Thursday for years now, we do encourage you to tune in and hear a great conversation there as well. And stay connected through our social media. We have rolling admission happening to our Eureka entrepreneurial program for women, especially non-white women, to focus them on starting up a business and supporting the growth and maintenance of their businesses. Our junior Jumpstart program to walk Black and brown high school juniors through the college process. It has just started and it's going through September 4th. You can register on our website for that. Obviously, it's summer camp time, and our healing space programs, our sexual violence programs, have a lot of wonderful support groups, for anyone and any of the survivors in our community. So we encourage you. You can always take the 21-day challenge that I mentioned earlier today too. At any time, you can access it through our website and sign up, and you'll get a podcast, and video, an article, something to read for 21 days to help give you a good basis for this conversation to keep learning too as well. So with that, we wish you a wonderful day. We thank Kiki so much for being with us today. We hope to see you all on the 21st at the forum. And if not, you know how you can access it by checking out the imaginemorenewjersey.org website, and stay connected to the Fund for New Jersey as well on all of their social media platforms. Everyone have a great day. Thanks so much for being with us. Bye-bye. Bye.